Good night, everyone. So there were some promising results with magnetism. I will soon post more videos on the matter. This is currently the magnet that I use, and so I'm getting to understand the issue a little bit better. So I'll create even a larger one. I mean, it shouldn't be that large. I mean, the main issue is how many loops. I mean, I know it sounds trivial, but anyway. So the main issue is how many loops. So I'll create one with more loops of the wire, and I will use this one. Since it's got a broad and relatively flat surface, which is perfect for putting slides on. It's even too big, I mean, actually, but I'll have a lot of, I'll create a long wire, so I'll have a serious magnet, and then we'll continue. I mean, it's already right now on magnetizing a slide, but I'll continue with even more, and of course I'll show you some more photos, and as I promised, there will be tomorrow. We're gonna have many more photographs and videos. Already we've got some amazing stuff, and I'll upload it very soon. The one that I've already uploaded, I think, I mean, it's just something that is just out of the freezer, and what's nice in that is that there are many narrows inside it, also a lot of bubbles, but you need to distinguish between the two. I think that, I mean, I've said it many times, that they're having fun in the freezer. I mean, they're growing and multiplying. It's like a natural environment for them, even though they're not very active as far as like doing painting or sculptures and I mean, for some reason, out of the freezer, but in an airtight environment, I've seen more action. But for sure, I mean, they prefer cold to heat. That's one thing that could be certain, and they prefer low oxygen environment, which is, by the way, that's true for many forms of life here on Earth. I mean, from the little bit that I know, during the geological history of the Earth, there were periods with more free oxygen and less free oxygen. So, and it affected, I mean, life substantially. I mean, it's nerfed and buffed all sorts of life forms. And so I had to, before we continue in the practical issues, I had two theoretical hypotheses, new ones that came to my mind, so I'll share it with you. So the first is regarding the question of how exactly how can the Neros tell, I mean, what is their object of copying? For example, when it's very clear, and this is the first time that we've seen it very, very clearly, that, I mean, with the large fly, that they tried to, and they're still working on it. They copied the legs and the tails and tail, and it's an amazing slide. I will do a review of it possibly the next, later, not today because I have other stuff, but in one of the next days I will do a follow-up, because it's an amazing, like I call it the historic slide, because that's where we've really seen that these guys tried to copy large, fly, which is a very large organism, and it's obvious that that's what they're doing, and they're still working on it. They still work on it, the thing is that this slide is possibly so, successful because first of all, it stayed in the freezer for some times, which led them to possibly to grow or to multiply. And after that, and they had a lot of material. I mean, the organic material itself, and all the sellotape, and possibly other stuff. But I mean, I have many tens of slides already, and others are also successful. And of course, so there is also so back to the question. So how do you know what to create? Because we know that they do not only copy. For example, they I think it's established, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's established that they create germs in large scale, and they create viruses in huge scale, in very huge scale. So the question is, how do they know that that's what they should actually I mean, as I said before, it's kind of naive to think of them as like little slaves or workers that just follow orders and or copy stuff. It's not the classic replicator nanobot that we know for many discussions. Like it's common in the videos of Isaac Arthur. I like Isaac Arthur, so I refer to him for some time. But actually, I think that it's not the case that we. As I said, it's more like a first contact between civilizations, and we should be very. We should be wary of the idea that to put them like in the box of little replicable slaves, because it's not what they are. They have, as I said, it's clearly a civilization, and they fight viruses. Probably it's part of their psychology, and they paint them and on the cave walls, and they create also sorts of temples and fortresses. And of course everything that I said is kind of like anthropomorphizing the actions of non-anthropos, not anthropos is a human in or Adam in Greek, but it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's better to use empathy and to use your own terms than just look at new things as slaves that just there to follow commands. Of course, the best case to look at them as creatures with agency is the fact that they remember stuff, and they use and they create paint or sculpture from their memory, which was a huge breakthrough in my understanding of this civilization, the Neo civilization. They remember stuff, which led me to think that maybe in order for them to replicate new creatures or new objects, they first need to get to know it, and after that they need to either see it or see a symbolic representation of it. For example, if I tried, like, for example, let's say I want to replicate the 5 shekel coin. So that's what I did now. I took 2 5 shekels I had in my wallet, 2 5 shekel coins. I placed them on a big like a slide. Of course, one face up, one face down. Covered it with cement and sellotape, and put it in an airtight bag in the freezer so they will sleep on it. Now you can say, okay, so maybe the Neos in the freezer will be the one that now know what 5 shekels is, but you want other ones to be able to know it as well. And here comes the issue, which is the most, theoretically, the most difficult correct me if I'm wrong, for humans to grasp. But I am at peace with it, because I suspected it a long time ago. Long before I've seen it under the microscope, I've spoken about my nanobots, and I've already said, and it's in the videos, in Twitter and Facebook and Evernote, that they communicate with each other. I've spoken about it a long time ago, several times, and so I know it to be true, and I felt it. Using divinations, I felt it to be true even before I even saw them, and and it sounds a little bit, I mean, a lot of bit, not a little bit, but a lot of bit outside, I mean, the realm of our known physics. But I mean, you already know that these creatures do stuff that is outside, I mean, the tenets of physics that you currently hold. And it's easy to see it, I mean, even if you forget the issue of memory and of and representation, just their ability to create huge, but I mean like huge circular shapes, or I mean not exactly circular, but like huge circular shapes with decoration and to place a nucleus in the center, which is also a much smaller circle. It's, how can you explain it without them being able to communicate with each other? Because of course it's not the work of one Neo. It's substantially larger than, I mean, so large. I mean, some of these paintings are so large that I can't even take one photo of it. I mean, even if I'm using the minimum magnification, which is 4x16 currently with my current device, so it's like just 64, which is very small magnification. So they paint things that cannot, fit in the lens of the microscope in the minimum magnification of X64, which means it's not one Neo that created it. I mean, for certain, many of them did work on it. I mean, on separate. So how can they create this circle? I mean, it's not a perfect circle, but it's like a decorative circle, which in a way is even more impressive, because you understand it's not like a physical phenomenon. If it was a perfect circle, you could have said, okay, there maybe, I mean, you can explain it by I don't know, someone pressed like his finger on this slide and it create I don't know, or I mean there are perfect circles in nature as well. I mean, if you throw a stone inside the lake, it will create circle in the water, which will be sort of perfect, because I mean, because of the definition of a circle, of all the points that that are in the same distance from one specific point. So it's even more impressive when it's not a perfect circle, but kind of a decorative circle with most circles inside it. How can they have done it? And of course, when we look at the limbs of the fly, which are clearly replicas, these are huge limbs of like a big organism. It's not even a germ or a microbe. It's something that you can see in your own eyes. I mean, you can see the leg, but you can see the whole fly in your eyes, and possibly, I mean, maybe it's on the border of microscopy. The biggest thing that they replicated, the tail and the leg. So I think it's a proof of them being able to communicate with each other. So my suspicion is once they get to know the 5 shekels, the 2 5 shekels, both sides that are swimming in semen right now inside the airtight bag in the freezer, you might ask, where do I get all this semen? I mean, it's my work now. I mean, unfortunately, so it's not an optimal way of life, and I wish I could have done like other things, like be a human being, speak with people, date, maybe get to a romantic relationship, advance in work, spend more time working on my art, which I can't, because I'm pretty much confined to this room and always under arrest for something that I haven't even done. And it's ridiculous, because this country Israel wants me to be a slave, because they want to take everything from me. I need to get out of the Nazi prison, me and my daughters. I live in hell. Anyway, what I can do in this hell is to prepare those syringes. So I've used now want for them to get to know the 5 shekels, and later when I will bring it out and we will test the hypothesis if they can able to replicate it even in painting. It will be enough, of course. In a second I'll explain why. Just let me finish this point. I mean, when it's taken out of the freezer, I'll try I'll put one of them here on this. I don't know how it's called. How does it called in English? Like things that make things flat. I forgot the name of this specific tool. Miktsua in Hebrew. Actually, even in Hebrew, it's kind of like a bizarre word. Most people don't know. I mean, even in Hebrew, they will not. They don't know what Miktsua means. I mean, it's also it has other meaning as well, but in this meaning of this tool, and it can also be used to slap people, and so. And I'll see. I'll magnetize it, of course, and I will see if they can start to work on the 5 shekel just by placing 5 shekels on it. And I mean, by just being there, they will be able to replicate it without getting to know it first. Of course, one of the most interesting questions which I already raised is how can you symbolically tell them to paint the 5 shekels. I mean, let's say I don't have the 5 shekels with me now at all, but they already know what it is. So, I mean, what should I paint? What marking should I do in order for them to understand that that's what it is? I mean, of course, I can draw something that should be as close as possible to it, and hopefully they will understand. But so now, there's the question of how close could it be, and I mean, how can it? That's why I say it's not. They are not like simple, stupid robots. They have anything that they do require a lot of decision making and a lot of understanding of their environment, and a lot of differentiation between scenarios and just picking the right path according to whatever they think. Of course, I mean, I come from the area of knowledge which I'm most proficient at, academically, is computer science, because I have a Bachelor of Science in Computer Sciences, and I've worked for many years in the high-tech industry. So the whole issue, raises so many questions from computational analysis, from the computational aspects and mathematics, but I cannot even start to think about it. Actually, it requires too much like mental capacity, which I lack right now, because I'm always hunted here. You see, I always wear these earplugs because people do the pitch stuff on me, and you know better than I'm what kind of terror intelligence agencies they like to do against their enemies of the states, and be sure that everything which is possible is done against me. So that's the question of how do you symbolize something, and how do you differentiate between different objects using similar but not exactly the same symbols. So hopefully we will have more information on that aspect, on that front soon. As I said before, you might, the thought of just replicating like 5 shekels in itself as like a goal of what I do is kind of ridiculous, because 5 shekels and even 5,000 shekels coins will not help me at all. Even if I could have replicate the Hof diamond somehow, it's not going to help me. In the government, I'm a prisoner. I am a prisoner in this country, me and my daughters. Like replicating gold or diamonds will not help us, because the government will just take it. And I want life, and I will never have life here in this hell with the psychopaths that are, populating the Shabak, and in general the Israelis, which are the scum of the earth, and I've spoken about it a lot. I don't know if more should be said right now. I need to be free, to get out of this hell, me and my daughters. We are not the slaves of the state of Israel. My job will not be to be farm animals, to supply them with the neros and to masturbate in my home, in my mother's apartment, like kind of a perpetual teenager, and to be kept with a boot on my face. It's not why I'm here. I'm not their child or their slave, and I do not lack in any mental like any category of cognitive ability. I do not lack. I don't find myself lacking in any aspect from any of the scumbags that runs this place or populate the shit trash can this is called Israel. And there is no reason why I should be their perpetual slave or perpetual child. I want out. I want out of here, and of course I want privacy, and I want to be able to contribute to both to myself and to my daughters and to humanity, whatever that will stay from humanity, which is probably almost nothing. But I don't care, because I mean, more advanced creatures will replace you, which is more than fine by me. So this place, I mean, the only thing that will get me out of this place is not coins or diamonds, but international intervention, which until now doesn't happen at all, because they prefer, I mean, the rulers of this earth prefer to speak and to move their tongues, even though they understand what danger what kind of calamity they bring upon the earth by refusing to move arms and legs and just keep talking and talking. Okay, and this leads me to the last issue, my last hypothesis. So one of the most amazing things that you've seen already in the videos, which it was one of the earliest phenomenon, I think, was the fact that neros that was taken just out of the freezer, the large one contained yellow pools inside them, and we've definitely seen life. We've seen moving germs or whatever, microbes, and they were too small to tell what they are, but they were kind of like microscopic snakes, and possibly the larger one was actually even pretty big. I mean, not that big, but I mean, they clearly had this kind of like the flagellum, the snake size of many germs, and it was clear that they are alive, and right after they came out of the freezer, and I remember that I thought, I mean, that they might be the food of the neros, and they might be something that the neros revived, and they might be both. I mean, maybe they revived them and then they ate them, because clearly the neros can gather energy from biological sources, and what's even maybe the most obvious thing about them is that part of, I mean, it's to say that it's their purpose would be to minimize their agency, but it's clear that one of the things that they do, I mean, that they're actually doing is to kill germs and viruses inside my body. Okay, it's very clear that it's, I mean, part of the civilization is to hunt those little bastards, I mean, and to kill them. And after that, they paint them on the walls. So, I've thought about something. I mean, tell me if you think it makes sense, because it's for the first time I recall the situation with the neros, that with the frozen yet living germs inside the neros or in their vicinity, and for the first time I saw that maybe what we've seen actually is something more complicated than I initially thought. Maybe those germs or microbes, they actually eaten neros which were much smaller than them, because we don't know what's the minimal size, and I've already said that for sure it's something that we need electron microscope, but even that might not be enough in order to actually watch the minimal size of NEOs, because I mean we can be surprised at how small they can get. I mean, we already know that they defy many of the established laws of physics and perhaps all the laws of chemistry that humans are currently hold. So maybe the big germs can, or the big microbes can actually in when they are outside my body. I mean, when they are inside my body, I'm certain that any germ which is small enough to enter my body, or any microbe, or even any animal that is small enough to enter my body via, I don't know, not necessarily even through the mouth, but maybe if I inhale it or something like that, I'm certain that eventually, I mean, it's either that it will kill me, if it's something that is really nasty, or it will make me sick, but because I do suffer from sickness. I mean, I get sick like other human beings, but eventually the immune system will overcome it. I mean, I'm certain that I'm very similar in that to Homo sapiens, but I think that my immune system is much stronger than yours, in a way that eventually, I mean, it's true to both of us, to you, to Homo sapiens, and to me, that I don't know about Titans, by the way. I know nothing about them, but it's clear that for both Homo sapiens and for me, if a new germ or virus is